frank discussion on life, the law, and liberty. Sponsored by the LaHood Norton Law Group. And now, your objection sustained. Your hosts, Karen Klaus and former Bexar County District Attorney Nico LaHood.
Thank you so much for being here and listening to Sidebar. We do remind you that if you go to sidebartv.com, that you can find a social media platform, and you're going to want to do that because of a very special announcement we're going to have. But you can also, at 10 o'clock, join us for the after show. 10 a.m., that's when the show stops on WOAI. We continue to have the conversation, and that goes on for as long as you're helping us by putting your input in and asking questions. So I always say this, but I truly mean it, and that is we appreciate every single one of you who joins us every week, and we absolutely appreciate all of your attention to sharing and liking the show, because we want more and more people to join the conversation, whether you believe and follow what the guys, Nico and George, believe in, or whether you oppose it. But that's how we all learn. That's truly how we all learn. And we also encourage you to go to sidebartv.com, because we want for you to become a contributor, and there is a way to give and help out with the show. So what's trending in the news? I had a whole list of things that I was going to talk about, but then early this morning, the U.S. hit Venezuela with what they're calling a large-scale strike, and captured the president and his wife. And I have so many questions because I haven't had a chance to look at any updates. I want to know why this happened. Why did we take him? What are they going to do with him? Where does he get to live? But also during the show, I was going to talk about Mamdani, his first full day as mayor of New York City. Federal payments have been frozen for Minnesota, and what's going on in Minnesota. And if you haven't heard of Nick Shirley yet, you should, you will, because everybody is attacking him. And then, of course, the president and Iran, the president in Somalia, the president in, Venezuela. There are so many things going on right now that it's almost hard to keep up. But every week, if you come here, you can hear the former Bexar County DA, Nico LaHood, trial lawyer, managing partner of LaHood Norton Law Group, and George Araujo, scholar, former chemist, pharmaceutical researcher, and director. And you guys, what has happened in Venezuela? I just need the full explanation. I don't get it. Every week y'all put the puzzle pieces together for me, but I need more info.
Well, first of all, happy and blessed New Year to everybody.
Absolutely.
I wish everyone a very prosperous, healthy, and favor-filled year, along with everyone in our studio here.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the support over the years, and we'll be talking at the end about, this new year and where we're going to go and things that we have planned. And, Saulo, we appreciate him working with us, and you, of course, Karen, and George and I we're stuck together like peanut butter and jelly. But you talk about Venezuela. Yeah, we weren't going to talk about this because it was, and then you wake up to this story. You could probably figure. Look, I love a strong U.S. I do. I love a strong government, but I have to have processes in place. So I'm not sure where I'm at on this right now. As I tell people, I want a strong but small government. Strong in don't F with us. Small in don't F with me. That's kind of my framework on what I want from my government. Now, does this lie into the camp of don't F with us? I mean, some people will say yes. And I like that aspect of it if you're looking at a big picture, 30,000 feet. But of course, me, there's that word again, due process. I want to make sure that this is done properly. We have, U.S. domestic laws versus foreign territorial and UN laws. And so I just don't know enough yet. So I'm going to pause. Right now. I know the president is going to do a press conference today at 11. I think some of the questions I have as a legal guy and cares about due process and government not overstepping their boundaries, and what does this mean and where could this go, again, under a different president. We can't just think about President Trump. We got to think about President Mamdani, sorry, Saulo, or whomever else. God forbid I said that. I can't even believe I said that. Ugh. But you have UN Security Council authorization, and then you have self-defense claims, and then different designations. I mean, so those are that's gonna be your struggle. I mean, because we have UN territorial situations, and what can happen, what can this mean? We have a UN charter, we have sovereignty of countries, we have different things and legal issues that need to be looked at, consent of the host state from authority from our UN partners, and so there's a lot, and then a claim of quote unquote self-defense. But my concern is what new norm does this set for the future, and what does this mean going forward to other presidents? I mean, because they took Maduro and his wife. I don't know what she was under indictment or not. Can any state, quote unquote, and I'm not saying this is a kidnap. This is going to be the criticism, by the way. So just get ready. Can any state kidnap a foreign leader? Do international borders mean anything anymore? I mean, you have to look at things like that. And then does this make conflict between countries easier? Because all you got to do is claim whatever you want to claim, and then you can go pick up leaders of states. So that's it. I mean, that's where I'm at. I mean, it doesn't seem like there was a host state consent, George. I mean, when we're looking at that, it doesn't look like there was UN authorization. I have not heard a strong self-defense claim yet. And then there is something called head of state immunity that arguably has been violated. So, I mean, those are my thoughts. I mean, the big picture thoughts. I just woke up and then, you're trying to read as much as you can on it. And again, but do I love a strong government? Yes. Do I love a strong U.S.? Absolutely. Do I want other countries to think twice to screw with us? Sure. But again, we have to come to the table with clean hands. That's all.
I can't really disagree with any of it. I mean, that's absolutely true. I told you that I did it really for rhetorical effect, but it's not far off the rhetoric when I say I love what was done. I understand the implications, but I love what was done because the United States has been looking the other way as its sovereignty has been flaunted by regimes and by interests such as that of Maduro's. I called him a narco-terrorist, not because Trump says he's a narco-terrorist, because he's been determined to be one, and not just under the Trump administration. It's not that he's a narco-terrorist, Nico. It's that his administration, if you want to call it that, his regime, runs a narco-terrorist organization. You can go back to Obama, for goodness sakes, where this has been determined. In fact, when you and I were discussing the Alien Enemies Act,
right,
the context that Trump was operating from, which, by the way, should have been explained and wasn't, is that what's been happening is Maduro has not just been orchestrating it, but he has been running that network and has been running roughshod over American sovereignty, not just with bringing drugs into the country and benefiting financially through the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans, setting that aside, but he's been really sort of importing clans of drug-pushing gangs, not the least of which is Tren de Aragua. And so this has been going on long before the Trump administration. What's been happening, which I think is interesting, maybe worth a discussion. Why make veiled threats? Why continue to threaten? Why continue to impose sanctions, but never actually really enforce them? So Trump comes in and he takes the threat seriously and does something about the threat, follows through on the sanctions, which is what the narco-terrorist operations against drug boats in the Caribbean have been, which is when the seizure of tankers have been, the imposition of those, actually following through on those sanctions with consequences. And in warning Maduro, we've seen in the news over the last several weeks that there's been a warning to Maduro. He's actually been telling Maduro, you really need to find another place to go. Now, you could argue he's a legitimate head of state. He's actually not. It's been determined by the same UN, the same international organizations, that he was just destroyed by Edmundo Gonzalez in the last elections, that those weren't actually elections, and that they were fake elections, and that this is well documented, instance after instance of blowing off due process through those elections to remain in power, and then paying off his generals with oil money, with oil that belongs to the United States.
Is he the first one that's done that? Is Xi doing that? Is Putin doing that also?
Oh, he's not the first one, but asking. I mean, it's a great. There's a great question. You could argue, well, there's lots of dictators.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. We got to be surgical about this, and it's really rare, but it's not unprecedented. I thought the reason I brought up the fact that this has happened before. This happens on January 3rd, 2026, and on January 3rd, 1990, the same damn thing happened to Manuel Noriega.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right? And I just thought, because the dates was interesting, it's not like Trump was planning it on that basis. Maybe he was, who knows? But just to say, there's some precedent here. The dictator Manuel Noriega in Panama, same type of stuff, same types of issues. So has it been established that this is an existential threat to the U.S. mainland? I think the answer is yes. And was it sudden? Did it come out of nowhere? No, this has been incremental. Is this isolated to the Trump administration? It is not. This has precedent beyond Trump, before Trump, Biden, wink, wink, and then Obama, wink, wink.
Biden? What do you mean Biden?
Well,
wink, wink.
Because, again, imposing sanctions that are never followed up on.
I got you.
And then
I
saying,
thought you meant this.
hey, we're going to put the squeeze on these people, and then taking their oil, meaning buying their oil.
Please, when we get back from the break, I'm not stopping you yet, but you need to explain that again.
I'm just saying, let's be consistent. So Trump said, okay, this is seems to be our national posture. How about I do something about it? So I'll leave it at that.
Like I said, I'm going to pause. I mean, I just shared with you my thoughts, where I'm at, kind of in general terms from the 30,000-foot angle, because I think about, remember I always say, and I try to be consistent about what I advocate. Be careful the world you help create, because someday you may have to live in it.
Dangerous precedent.
I mean, that's what, and they're gonna play that out in New York with Mamdani, by the way, because it's not like Mamdani was hiding what he was campaigning on. So his speech, I know we're gonna get to today as well, and now it's gonna be straight in their face and see what happens. So that's my only concern, because we got to think past Trump. We have to. I know that's hard for some people. I support President Trump. I voted for him twice. Okay, check. Okay, stop. That's the fact. I still support him. But I gotta, be honest, and I don't mind criticizing him, because I want him to do well, because I want our country to do well, even more than Trump. It's to me, it's about the country. I mean, the leader is just the kind of the intermediary to help the country to flourish. That's all I care. I care about the country, and so because I care about my children, I care about my grandchildren, I care about my great-great-grandchildren. I mean, if we want to leave a legacy, I mean, we're celebrating 250 years. If we want another, if God allows it, if we want another 250 years, we better act right and consistently.
What's the difference between capturing Maduro and another leader? Is it that we took him and brought him? Like, where did they take him to? I haven't had a chance to read it. Is he going to New York? Well, you know what? We're going to take a break right now. I have so many questions. We will be right back in just a minute, but you must go to sidebartv.com, because we will continue the show at 10 a.m.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
1200 WOAI. By the way, if you are listening only on the radio and you don't know about online yet at sidebartv.com, if you're listening on the radio, we would love for you to text the word sidebar to 210-560-0180. We also, if you join us online, we'll have that posted up, but it's 210-560-0180. We'll have an announcement soon, and we'll tell you exactly why we would love for you to text that. We would like your information and to give you updates on where you can listen. So, back to Maduro. Why did they take him? What is the deal? I don't understand what's going to happen from this point. Like, what are they going to do with him and his wife?
Yeah, the dust is settling on whether he's actually, where specifically he's going to land. I mean, now we know what happened to Noriega. He was tried and brought him to Miami.
You were talking about that. You were talking about that off the air.
Nico and I were just chatting about. I think the parallels are uncanny. Check it out. Go to Google and look what happened on January 3rd, 1990, under H.W. Bush, and just see that there was this precedent of incremental warnings, same types of issues, racketeering, drug trafficking, en masse into the United States interior. This has been the subject of multiple investigations. It was determined to be the case. Lots of entry threats. Eventually, it was determined that the damage was just unacceptable to the country. And so there were these incremental warnings, Nico, over and over and over again. encouraging him strongly, an increasing intensity of rhetoric to get him to resign. He refused to resign. And then there were sort of these sort of incremental insertions against Panamanian assets, and then eventually a military incursion, which removed him and brought him to the U.S. mainland. He was tried in Miami, 40 years in prison. He was released from jail. So he didn't die in prison. He was released from jail in 2007, and then he went to France, and then he incurred other charges that were in France. And then he ended up going to Panama, additional charges, and died in a Panamanian jail. So lots of, let's just say there was no love lost. The Panamanian people, I would say, if you saw in the aftermath of what happened with Maduro, there were lots of, shall we say, people with posters saying, yay, yay.
Did Noriega get due process?
Yeah, so it was seen then now as a law enforcement operation, given what was going on in terms of his, again, it was established that this was deliberate, it was incremental, it was systematic, it was long-term against the United States to sort of reap benefits, financial benefits from the United States, while hurting the stability of the United States. So that was the argument.
I'm curious to see what Trump says today, and I won't watch it live, but I mean, I'll watch it after for sure. I do want to protect this country. I think we're in a lot of trouble, not just from exterior forces, but internally. Not just our society's in trouble. I mean, you look at all the, I think this country is being run over by people that don't want to assimilate into this country, and that's through past ideas and past bad ideas that have now it's coming home to roost. So we need to look at that too. Like I said, both of us pause. I'm going to pause. For me, I mean, I don't have. Obviously, some people have Trump deranged syndrome, no matter what he does. And then other people have Trump euphoria, no matter what he does. I mean, so I don't have either one of those. I'm a Trump realist. I'm a Trump supporter. And I'm going to analyze and try to do my best to call balls and strikes. And so those are my concerns. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I read the Noriega comparison. But I'm not sure exactly what I care about our laws. I care about our agreements. If we're going to be if we have UN agreements, we got to honor them. Because again, I worry about when Trump's not in office. I worry about, I mean, because look, under this precedent, regardless of what your opinion is on Israel, isn't there an international warrant for Bibi? I mean, so I guess someone's going to justify going into Israel if they make their claim. I mean, again, we're dealing with different stuff. Inside the U.S., we don't have to answer to another country. We have to answer to our own constitution. And we have to answer to the citizens of this country. That's how it's supposed to work. We have a constitution. The citizens run the country through the Constitution. Theoretically, I get the administrative state has just completely destroyed that idea so far. But that's the idea. Outside of that, we have UN agreements. Now, if we want to be, Billy badasses, and that's fine. I mean, that's the approach that we want as a country. Then we have to make that decision and then lie in the bed that we make. That's all. So that's all I'm saying. I'm curious. I'm going to pause. Like I said, I'm not going to overreact. I'm not going to underreact. I'm going to pause and listen to see what President Trump says.
That's the wise thing to do. I mean, and these things need to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. They really, really do. They're calling it a law enforcement operation. Is it? Why is that? Why would this be considered a law enforcement operation? Is there an existential threat to the United States? Why is that? I mean, let the evidence come forth. Now, to be fair, from a documentary perspective, we're not talking about this like Maduro's never been in the headlines, right? This has been going on for a while. And it culminated in this. That's the legitimate question here. Should it have culminated in this action?
Why his wife? Do you know? I mean, I'm legitimately asking that question. I have no idea. That's not.
Well, you don't want to leave her behind because
he has a choice.
Yeah,
I'm sure she wanted to be with him.
You don't want to stay there by yourself either.
Maybe not.
Wait,
they don't want to separate families.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Next, they're going to be in cages. Oh, my God.
You speak with some conviction there, so like.
Give him a margarita.
Oh,
I don't know. You mentioned Mamdani. Now, how does this all fit together? I am just like, there are too many things for me to understand right now. And yes, I know that situation is unknown to the people probably that voted for him. But during his inauguration, didn't he kind of like hint that he's going full in?
There was no hint. I mean, look, communists and progressives speak in code. They speak. You have to listen to how they talk. They use particular words, and there's like a code that they use. I mean, these are from what I was. I didn't watch his speech. I reviewed it, but I mean, let me tell you the things that stood out to me. I'm sure Trump has it. I mean, Trump. Sorry, I called you Trump, George. I'm sure George Trump instead of Araujo has it memorized. But
No.
here's what he said. This was interesting. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. What? Rugged individualism is the primary character trait that made America America. It's that rugged individualism. Collectivism means communism, by the way. That's code word.
Yeah.
When you say collectivism, you're talking communism, and that's how these people talk. And then another one is, beginning today, we will govern expansively and audaciously. Means no restriction on government. Big government, small citizen. That's opposite of this idea and this experiment of a constitutional republic. And then he said, there's no need too small to be met, and no person too sick to be healthy. And then he says, we will govern without shame. I mean, so that he's talking about a big, expansive government, and you have to respect the guy. He campaigned on this. It's not like he was kind of some stealth campaigner.
No surprises, right?
He's not a private communist. I mean, he's an open communist. He's not a stealth one. And so you got to understand that. But there are consequences. I mean, the NASDAQ is opening up stock exchange in Texas. I mean, people are going to be getting out of there. And so, look, there's going to be a lot of effects. And some people can say, who gives a crap about New York? I guess it's still one of the major cities in this country, and I mean, it stands for something.
It stands for America.
Well, it stands for the melting pot, right? I mean, all these ethnicities and these people came for this dream, this American dream, but yet they melted into this pot of it, assimilated into this idea of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and it meant something back then. And they all agreed. Yes, you still had Chinatown and Little Italy and all the different ethnic groups where they celebrated their ethnicity. I'm proud of my Lebanese, Mexican heritage and ethnicity, but I'm an American first. And so that's the problem. There was no assimilation. And we're going to talk about Somalians and all the other stuff in the Islamic move too. So this guy is going to just continue to destroy New York. I mean, the days of Giuliani and Bloomberg and all that stuff appear to be gone. And you know they're going to be in trouble when the mafia leaves New York. So we'll find. I'm waiting to see. They're going to get the hell out of Dodge.
I found the speech scary, unsurprising.
Yeah.
In the same breath. And it's not, there's no mandate here. I mean, 50.4%. He's got a literally divided city. And so I didn't hear any mutual cooperation.
That's a good point.
I didn't see reaching across the aisle. This was not a speech. This was a declaration of war. And it was a declaration of an ideological war. This guy isn't going to be a mayor. He's a zealot.
Yeah.
That's the point. And you should believe him. We said on the show multiple times, Nico, how about taking the man at his word?
Yep.
Right? Free buses and free rides, right? Free rent. Cap those rent prices. Government run grocery stores. You think he's joking? He's not joking. Look at the people that he's appointing. These people they're not collaborators of democracy. They are zealots.
Who in their right mind is going to go along with that? I can't picture it.
Ideological supporters.
But are they the ones that own the grocery stores? Are they the ones that own the buildings where these rents are going to be held at a whatever it is fee that he decides on?
Well, interesting you should ask. I think the easiest way to find out who those owners are is to watch all of the people lining up at the airports as they get into planes going to Miami and Florida.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Will New York have enough people left behind to recover on the next election? Will he do so much damage? Look, I mean, because
that's not hyperbole.
That's not. I mean, it's really not. I mean, so you have to think about that. Now, the only thing you can hope and pray for is people go, oh, crap, okay, we're not going to take this stupid idea that we had here and take it somewhere else. Because, look, this is going to backfire on even the people that voted for him. They just are. Look at what happened with Trump a year ago. And he got just this surge because of the ideas that Biden and Kamala were advocating, and where the party was going at that time and where the country was headed, and the insanity that people were dealing with from the open border. Real quick side note, I do this because I really, can you imagine this country if Kamala Harris would have won?
I asked that question yesterday
just think about that.
And this morning.
On the border alone, just on the border, forget about men and women's sports that we're not really talking about as much, thank God. Think about, just forget about the American culture that has been revived, in my humble opinion. Remember I became a one-issue voter practically in this last election?
Yes.
Just on the border alone, imagine how many millions and millions. Look at what Biden did in the time he did when he was in office. I mean, gosh, that alone is like when I thank God every day.
Think about the military.
You can still be upset with Trump. Sorry, guys, you can still be upset with Trump. You can still criticize him, but I'm thankful that he won because it's just on the border alone. So aside from that, so my concern from New York is, can they recover from this? Even if they wake up and say, oh crap, what do we do? And have buyer's remorse, is it too late? And George, great point about 50.4. This was not a mandate. This was not okay, this is what's going to happen. This was a squeak. I mean, they squeaked by. And a lot of the people that squeaked by, I think were emotional voters, but they're not lost. I mean, they're not cultish. I mean, I really believe that. There's people that are emotional, not cultish. And the emotional ones voted for him, and they're going to have buyer's remorse. And then is it going to be too late because all the other people have left? I don't know. We'll see. But it's already starting off horribly for New York, and I feel terrible for them.
And it's fundamentally ideological. It really, really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a small point that he puts his hand on the Quran.
Yep.
And this is the third time for him. Not a small point. This is an ideological rift. I mean, we got politicians across the country who still take for granted that we should not be electing officials who are Muslim. At least not to the extent that we have. I mean, this is becoming more and more common, and I think it's noteworthy that virtually all of them are democratically elected officials. And
that's not a small point, George. And we should. I know we're going to go to break here in a second, but Ben Carson took a lot of heat for saying that a Muslim, I mean, an Islamic person cannot be president. And he's not a very articulate, dynamic, and I get it. He just got lambasted for it. But when you think about ideologically, he's correct. Because you can't pledge your allegiance to anything but the Quran, the Sharia, and the Hadiths and all this other stuff. Because it's an imperialistic ideology with one caliph creating one caliphate under one caliph. And so the idea is, theoretically has to supersede and replace the Constitution with Sharia. And just look at these speeches in the UK, around the country, even in our United States, saying we will replace.
They're not hiding it.
They're not even hiding it. And then we're just obsessed with not pissing anyone off and being this warm and fuzzy. I don't understand it. It's self-destructive and it's suicidal society.
And I just feel the need again to qualify that this is not a dig. This is not a criticism of every individual Muslim.
No.
As you and I have said, we have friends, people that I consider dear in my life that are Muslims. But I would argue with them if they and I were sitting down that they're not practicing their religion as written on the pages of the books.
Okay,
right?
we got to take a break, but remember 210-560-0180. Text the word Sidebar for more information. We're going to be right back with more on Sidebar.
This is News Radio 1200 WOAI San Antonio, an iHeartRadio station guaranteed human. Now, the latest news, weather, and traffic from the GiveMeTheVin.com Sell Us Your Car studio.
I'm Eric Lycombe at News Radio 1200 WOAI. President Trump speaks out on the capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife ahead of his press conference this morning. Details coming up. First, traffic and weather together.
From the WOAI Traffic Center.
On Loop 410 between Palo Alto and Zarzamora, we have construction that's affecting both the eastbound and westbound sides. On 35 northbound, the off-ramp to Evans Road is closed due to construction. I'm Alexis, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
On our way to 77, we got sunshine. 67 now at the WOAI 24-hour weather center. Our top story. U.S. forces conducting a series of strikes in Venezuela early this morning, which ultimately resulted in the capture of the country's president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife. President Trump telling Fox News this morning.
He was in a very highly guarded, like a fortress, actually. He was in a fortress. You know, that we had nobody killed was amazing. I think we had nobody killed, I have to say, because a couple of guys were hit. But they came back, and they're supposed to be in pretty good shape.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says Maduro and his wife have both been indicted on charges in New York. We will have the president's press conference live, expected to start in about half an hour here on News Radio 1200 WOAI. News on demand at WOAI.com. Breaking information as it happens. I'm Eric Lycombe on San Antonio's news, weather, and traffic station. News Radio 1200 WOAI.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
WOAI. Write the phone number down, 210-560-0180. If you are on the radio, WOAI 1200 right now, and that's the way you listen to Sidebar, just text the word Sidebar to that phone number, and then we can send you updated messages. Listen, if we could just wrap up what we were talking about, because everyone, like you said, is so afraid to say anything about elected Muslim officials and a president and a possible, mayor of New York City.
Yeah, we just ending that thought on the other side of the break, Nico, that, we both know individual Muslims who are constitution-loving Muslims, self-described Muslims. And I know them to practice their faith, at least seriously, the way they see it. But if I was to debate them or have a conversation about Islam over coffee, I would say, look, the fact that you divest yourself from the Islamic understanding of jihad, at least is written, at least communicated by Muhammad in his autobiography, right? In the Sirah, the autobiography of Muhammad, as developed in the hadiths and the traditions of Islam, as pushed forward in the Quran. That's a divestiture of those things. So you are parting with your own faith. Now, you may have personalized your observance of the faith. Fair enough. I respect that. And that's probably why we get along so well, right? That's probably why we're friends, because we share values in that regard. Because I would also dismiss those things about Islam. But if you're going to take the faith seriously, and if you're going to see what's been happening with Islamopolitics across the world for literally a century, since the fall of the Ottoman Empire in 1922, if you're going to see how Islam has been interacting with its neighbors, how Islam has been interacting with its European neighbors, it ain't pretty. And the reality is that jihad isn't some tangential thing, Nico. It's central to the belief of Islam. That remains very, very valid. The Quran is explicit in directing Muslims to kill the infidel, non-believers, wherever you find them. That's chapter 2, verse 191, chapter 4, verse 89. To kill the idolaters wherever you find them. That's chapter 9, verse 5. Chapter 9 is notoriously filled with those kinds of statements. Allah saying, I'm going to cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve. Chapter 8, verse 12. Telling Muslims to make ready for them all that you can of force and of war horses, so by them you may strike terror in the enemy of Allah and your enemy, in chapter 8, verse 60. I mean, these are not passages that are sort of just disjointed from the rest of the theme of the text. This is central to the text. This remains relevant. It remains a marching tenet of current Islam and Islamo republics across the world. This is here in the United States. So the idea of somebody putting their hand on the Quran, you can't separate yourself from what I just said.
But you weren't elected in an Islamic theocratic country. You were elected in the United States of America. You have to pledge your allegiance. I've taken the oath before when I was DA, and I've administered the oath to many assistant DAs when I was DA. I mean, you're pledging to protect and defend the Constitution. That's it. Not defend and protect the Quran, the Hadith, the Sirah, and all the other things. And there's many Hadiths, like George was saying. And so George and I, we've studied this over the years because we've had to have hopefully friendly but passionate and defensive debates. Because I did. Because when I was DA, I've shared this many times before, there was this huge push to set up Sharia courts, meaning that a Sharia court would govern people under the Islamic ideology under Sharia and not circumvent essentially the Constitution. And it's like, well, no, then go back to your country or start your own country. That's not what it's. So this is what people need to understand, and this is why I don't get it. And left-leaning people, progressives, whatever, us conservatives and them, we should all agree on this. And then we'll go back to fighting and debating. Fighting meaning arguing and persuading each other about progressivism versus conservatism, communism or socialism versus capitalism and all that. So we'll go back to that. But we should agree that a constitutional republic, in whatever our ideas are, definitions of that mean, and how we want to implement that, we agree on. And it's not Sharia. I assure you, and I won't go through all of it, what it represents here. And all you got to do is, we have the experiments for us to look at. There's videos. They're not even hiding it at all. Mm-hmm. And Sharia is I'm telling you, the progressive person, the LGBT person, that's one thing we have in common. We don't want Sharia governing this country. We want a constitutional republic. We can go back to debating and living our lives with freedom and liberty, as long as it doesn't interfere with someone's.
And Nico, if people know nothing about Islam, even if they don't know anything about Sharia, right?
What does it mean?
Because it could be just the idea that the conflict inside the Quran and in the Hadith are between Muslims and the people of the book. The people of the book, it seems to me, are, I don't know, I think we need to wrestle with this. The designation of the people of the book comprise the two main constituencies of the United States, Christians and Jews. And those are the people against which that the war is going on. The people of, that you wage war against the people of book until they pay the what? The jizya. which is a tax. They pay it with willing submission until they feel themselves subdued, and ultimately either adopt the faith or remain subdued. So that hasn't changed. That remains relevant.
I know, but George, the Jewish community in New York City is dominant. I moved there from Texas, and not knowing about the culture of the East Coast, and that is the first thing you learn, that it is part of what living on the East Coast is all about. So what is going to happen to that community that is so strong?
Karen asked a question, Nico, and we could probably spend the entire segment on this, but there's a piece by Scott Pinsker, who's a PR expert. I really like his takes on political movements inside pjmedia.com, and he forecasts the self-destruction of Mamdani. But he says it's not going to happen because he tries to implement crazy policies or because the Republicans are going to push back with counter policies. That's not why he's going to implode. He says he's going to implode because something's going to happen that's going to force him out of his carefully scripted sound bites. Because this guy hasn't been tested. Yeah. There's no testing here. He's been sort of embraced by a friendly media. Yeah. He comes across charismatic. He's got that fake ass wide smile, right? He talks in sound bites. He sounds very charismatic. But the reality is that New York City is everything but scripted.
Yes.
And something's going to happen. Yeah. He says there's going to be criminal event. You know why? Because that's crime in New York. It's a big deal. The media always talks about crime. And you're going to see some constituency that's looked on Mamdani with suspicion, i.e. the Jews, and you're going to see a murderer. You're going to see some act of violence. And then you're going to see Jewish protesters. Gosh, yes. And then you're going to see the Muslim protesters on the other side. And Mamdani's going to stick his head in there, and he's going to try to be scripted. And it's going to come across illegitimate and unvarnished and pathetic.
Are these 4-year terms, the mayor in New York?
That is my understanding.
Wow. 4 years is a long-ass time, man. It's a long-ass time.
But it can quickly turn ugly.
The reality, I guess. I think the painful reality is going to set in. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Okay, so
we should all be praying for New York, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
And pray that doesn't become more widespread, and I fear that it might be.
Okay, so now do we get to talk about the Somalians? And what happened? What happened, and why is everybody going to kill Elon Musk and Nick Shirley? They're all targeted, even...
Why? What do you mean? There's threats on them, or what?
Yes, because they're saying, give the money back. This is all wrong, and they are just not taking it well. Did you hear about the break-in? The guy couldn't turn over his paperwork for his child care center because they stole.
I'm sensitive to this because I think people throw this idea around of threats and this and that and violence around like it's a joke. It's not a joke. I deal with violence every day. I deal with people that lose lives. I've had death threats on my life when I was DA and even after, from when I was in office. It's you sleep differently, you look differently. It's a different way of. So it's not a joke, and so I can't stand. Everybody should repudiate that. I don't care what side you're on. We should like you start talking about violence when you're talking about politics and holding people accountable, anybody accountable. Yeah. You're my enemy. You're my enemy. If you're gonna talk about violence for ideas, you're my effing enemy. Period, end of story. And that's the way everyone should think, whether you're progressive or conservative. If anybody talks about violence for political disagreements, they should be your enemy. Seriously, because that's ridiculous. This country will never last. And you could all you gotta do is look at Charlie Kirk and other people and people's. I mean, just aside from political movements, he was a husband and a daddy. No one deserves that. I'm telling you right now. I really can't stand that. So for Elon Musk and for whoever else and this guy Nick Shirley to be threatened. I mean, if everybody is not repudiating that, then that's disgusting to me. Okay, that aside, I mean, look, there was an autism scam. There's a state-funded scam through these federal grants for child care centers that had no kids in them, and they're spelling learning wrong, and they can't even speak the language. I mean, this is just reality. And then some parents got kickbacks after signing kids up, and they got some type of kickback because they got some of it. And this kid, Nicholas Shirley, is some YouTube journalist dude, independent investigation, and he uncovers a lot of this stuff. Good for him. I mean, you know, but what I heard somebody expert say that Somalia is a low trust society. You know, America is not a low trust society. America is a high trust society. A high trust society being defined as people who generally believe others will act honestly and follow standards and certain rules and shared values that we have. And there's a rules of engagement. You know, strong social cooperation, fewer rules because we have virtuous people. That's the experiment of the United States of America. That's this beautiful experiment. That if we're virtuous, government doesn't need to be Big Daddy and Big Brother and govern and parent you, because you know how to treat each other. That's a high trust society versus a low trust society. Did I say high? No, Somalia's a low trust society. Yeah. What he was arguing, meaning that it doesn't work that way. People assume that you're going to cheat and you're going to exploit and act dishonestly, and so when that happens, well, they can do it too. So the classic example that I've heard over the years is somebody in a high trust society finds $5,000 and they're like, oh, this is somebody's money. I mean, you know, we should try to find out if we can if we can get it. And low trust size, like, it's $5,000, mine now. Too bad for them. You know, I'm not even going to try. I mean, it's just things like that you have to have a lot of oversight and contracts and this, and there's no handshake. The whole handshake deal, like my pop taught me growing up, taught me a lot of things. If you give someone your word and you shake their hand, the only reason why you need a piece of paper is to remind you what you agreed on. That's it. You don't need a piece of paper to enforce your word. You need a piece of paper just to remind each other of what you said, because there may be some specifics or nuances that you might not remember. And that's how I was raised. Your word is your word. Handshake is a handshake, and it means something. And that's why there's been times when I've been around people that they're just the people out of respect that have attacked me, you know, without any facts or whatever. I won't shake their hand. I don't play that game. A handshake means something to me. You'll excuse me if I don't shake your hand. Let's talk later, and maybe we'll shake hands. Maybe we won't. But that's just me. That's the way I was raised. I don't know. The Somalian issue is a big deal. And I think if they did more investigation around the country, we're going to see a hell of a lot more.
Hey, we're going to take a break. Keep your thought, George. Keep it.
George, you start the next time.
We have one more segment, but remember, 210-560-0180. Text the word Sidebar. We'll be right back.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Sidebar. Remember, go to sidebartv.com because that's where you can find, if you have not ever watched on social media platforms, that's where you can find one to get on, because we're going to continue the show at 10 o'clock for at least, 45 minutes. So we have so much to talk about. So the Somalians, everything that's going on, I feel like a big pot's being stirred and all the demons are popping up out of every single place that a truth is uncovered, and it just doesn't seem to end. And it
won't end. It won't end until we have the courage to say things as they are. What we have is a civilizational clash. That's what's happening here. This isn't just fraud. There's a reason for that. There's a worldview where fraud isn't, it's not a bug. It's a feature. It's central. It's central to that worldview. You were asking about Somalia, the demographic makeup in Somalia. It's completely the opposite of that of the United States. It is over 99% Muslim, and Christianity is less than 1%. Okay, and you could say, oh, so what? That's irrelevant. It's actually not irrelevant. I love Nico carrying on about, there's a reason why we do things the way we do in America. There's corruption in America. There's lots of sin in America, but there is an ethos. There's a social compact, I should say, that's grounded in a Judeo-Christian ethos that says that we have this thing called creator-sourced dignity. Our dignity doesn't come from our opinions of one another. It comes from a creator. At some point, we believe, the founders believe, this cut through their founding documents. At some point, everyone's going to be held accountable for the things that they say and the things that they do. There's this creator who endows us with certain inalienable rights. That is, man, that's oil and water with a Somalian Islamic worldview, where it's, where the ends truly justify the means. And then there's an extension to your neighbor. If this is true about creator, a creator existing, a creator endowing us with inherent dignity, then maybe we ought to treat each other like we're valuable. Maybe we ought to treat each other with respect. So maybe defrauding my neighbor shouldn't be default, right? And so there's a reason why Americans do things the way the Americans do, and so forth. And we're seeing a civilizational clash here. So fraud isn't a bug, it's literally a feature. And so the vast majority of the people who have been arrested, who have been indicted, I think the number clocks right at around 98 to 100. And overwhelmingly, they're Somali. And that's not an accident. That's because this is part of the culture. It's central to it. So this is civilizational. We just gotta deal with that reality. That's number one. And then there's the fact that this is not isolated to Minnesota. I mean, this is a hydra. It's everywhere. It's in Washington. It's in Ohio. It's in Maine. It's in Pennsylvania. It's in California.
Sounds like
not
blue
just
states.
Minnesota. Oh, yeah. Thank you for stealing my thunder.
Sorry.
We have to take this seriously. I mean, what was it the Attorney General said that this is some $18 billion, and half of which is Somali fraud.
18 billion. Think about that. Half of that, $9 billion with a B dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody should be pissed at this. I mean, Democrat, Republican. See, there's certain things
that's just the stuff we know.
Well, yeah. Well, there's certain things that we should all rally around. The idea of an Islamic influence over our constitutional republic. We should not want that. For the reasons that George said, and said, well, what about a Christian influence? Again, we can debate that historical context and what our foundation ideas, not forced on you, but the ideas are set after. And so we'll go from that. But I mean, just think about that. We should all gather around this idea that our tax dollars, Minnesota tax dollar, but ultimately federal tax dollars, because it was a federal grant that was funneled in through a state, and that's it. It's being wasted. I mean, we should all rally around that and just hold people accountable that are stealing our tax dollars. And we're not, because again, our enemy's enemy is our friend. So people will disagree with a conservative or with Trump or with whomever just because this other person is in opposition to them, and then your enemy's enemy is your friend until your enemy's enemy is your enemy, because your enemy's enemy is gone. I mean, that's just the way it is. It got confusing. Who's on first and who's on second? I got that. But that's the way it works. And so that's why I really caution people. Can we talk about ideas? Can we drop the labels just for a second? Because we're never going to move the needle if we don't do that. And that's why we have to, talk to people that we don't agree with. Maybe talk to someone, God, dare I say, that you don't like, but still talk with them and try to influence people, because we can't keep going down this path. And this Somalian thing is going to be a huge deal. You watch.
But watch
now, what
the
do you do
Democrat
about
Party.
it, though? There's the question.
But the Democrat Party's embracing it.
That's my point.
Right? This Tim Walz and Katie Wilson and the Mamdanis and Brandon Johnson. Hey, let's have more Somalis. Let's bring in more Somalis. You remember the debate with J.D. Vance, Tim Walz? I can't believe that man was actually going to could have been the vice president of the United States, was actually saying he wanted to expand daycare centers to follow the model of Minnesota. Now we find out that it's systemic in terms of its corruption and fraudulence. I mean, so this again is not a bug; it's a feature, and the Democrat Party is embracing it. They want more of this. They want the chaos. They want to dismantle the way things are in the United States. The Democrat Party, and I'm not talking about every individual Democrat, I'm talking about the party from a platform perspective, is truly an enemy of our constitutional republic. They despise it, and everything they seek to do is to undermine it and destroy it. That is a fact. Democrat politicians on the Hill embrace policies openly, overtly, to destroy the United States of America as founded. They despise the country. Tim Walz despises this country. So this is clearly isolated in large part, not entirely, to a Somali problem. This is a worldview issue. This is a civilizational problem. This is a complete lack of assimilation issue. Instead of owning it and understanding this has been happening largely on his watch, he says white men are actually the problem. Literally, over the last week. Where did that come from?
Wall said that?
Yes.
How are they the problem?
Because white men are really the problem. And
They're privileged.
That's what he said. He said white men are the problem without context?
Well, the problem is that you guys want to talk about Somalis. Let's talk about white men.
But there's no way that he
So then
doesn't
Governor
know
Walz
about...
is the problem?
Yeah.
He's a white dude, isn't he?
Yeah. But he hates white
What are we doing?
men.
What are we doing in this country? This is... here's what I worry. I worry that this fault line, as you've described it, I worry that it's irreparable. I'm just deeply concerned about it for myself and my family, my kids, my dear ones, my friends, my brothers. I worry about that. If this isn't irreparable, where there's literally no overlap, where we literally have completely, not just different sets of facts, but we have completely different interpretations of the facts, where evidence isn't evidence anymore. I really worry about that.
What I hope is that the Democrat Party would reject this kind of Islamization and Islamic overtake and this ultra progressive communist take of the party and go back. I mean, I was down in Corpus this week, we had to go down there and get set up because we have that trial coming up. And so we went down there to just check on where we're going to stay and all this other stuff. And you have people advertising, because it's a very split county and a lot of conservatives there too. And you have the Democrats saying, the right Democrat, vote for the right kind of Democrat. Kind of like this, you can tell they're saying like this blue dog kind of conservative blue dog Democrat that has different ideas maybe socially, but that there's underpinnings that we all agree on. Like we're not going to disagree on the fact that we're playing on a football field. There's a football. You can't you can't do certain things. The rules are the rules, but we're still on opposing teams. And I'm trying to score on you, and you're trying to score on me. But I'm not playing rugby, and you're playing American football or soccer and rugby. I mean, those guys would be destroyed. I mean, or even just rugby and pads and helmets. You're done. I mean, you're not running over somebody with pads and helmets that's as big as you. So, I mean, you got to have rules of engagement and then still be opponents and try to beat each other, so to speak, legally and politically. But that's what I'm hoping for. I hope the Democrat Party rejects and repudiates this kind of stuff and takes the party back to where a Bobby Kennedy and a Tulsi Gabbard aren't pushed out of the party, that someone like them could win a primary. The problem is there's a lot of still kind of blue dog-ish Democrats. They're really closer to independent, but they're still what they believe is an old school blue dog. But none of those people win a primary.
They stay silent too.
Well, because they don't want to be called names, or they got to go along to get along, or all the. And look, everybody does that too. But yes, that's a part of it. You can't get out of a primary, and so the primary produces these radicals, and then they get into the general, and then there's more of a divide. And instead of bringing, like I said, the blue dog back.
No, that's really well said. I and I didn't think of it that way. That's a good point. Yeah, primaries matter a lot.
Yeah.
For goodness sakes.
Well, there's an argument for no primaries, but I mean, we have them, and so we got to deal with them, and that's unfortunate because so few people vote in primaries. So few people vote in primaries. I mean, what is it here? I don't know if Salvo and I were talking about that. I think it's like 9 to 12% only vote in a primary. I mean, it's like kind of like the mayor race here in the city council races.
And the reality is that Democrats do that much better than we do. I've got a big we could probably spend an hour on that because a lot of these primaries where you see, and this is why for people who are worried about the midterms, be of good cheer. And just because I know we've seen some special election wins, but the reality is they were all open primaries, and they're rife. They're rife for manipulation. And I think Republicans need to close the loop on that. If you're going to be voting in a Republican primary, you need to be a Republican. I mean, you can't be a Democrat. You got to be a Republican. Anyway, we could spend an hour on that.
It's ridiculous that it isn't that way already, actually.
I'd like to ask you guys for 30 seconds on that Minnesota, because this is an exploitation of the welfare system. There's two issues here. And I think they're running cover because they're saying, what do you mean? Welfare problems have been around for a long time. Why pick on us? And I think there's two issues. I think we should spend 30 seconds just breaking those apart and move on.
Well, I don't know if you want to take a few minutes. We have been on the air here for how long? 3 years?
No,
4 years? Well, we've been on for a long time.
5.5
6
maybe?
years, really?
I don't know. Look at the country.
Okay, and a decision has been made that we are probably at the end of, not probably, at the end of January, we're going to go streaming. Just streaming, total streaming. And so that's why it's very important that you, maybe if you have never tried us on a streaming platform, you go and you text Sidebar to that phone number. I put it in the chat on Facebook, 210-560-0180, because we can update you on where we're going to be. But the bottom line is, hopefully we stay at the same time, but we're going to be streaming.
Yeah, and obviously, look, this has been a journey for us. I mean, Karen and I first, and then we drug George. I drug George in, kicking and screaming, so to speak, and then and now he's like herpes. I can't get rid of him. I knew that was coming. But and then Salo being with us, and so look, I mean, radio has served us well, and we love doing it, but if we're thinking about the future and where this is going and where podcasting is going and where can we reallocate resources, because as you know, Karen, George, and I are so into this. I mean,
it is very expensive to be on the radio. I'm telling you. People just don't realize that. They think you can just be on the radio for free. It's not.
It doesn't work that way. And so we just have to be good stewards of that, for professional, personally, our families and things moving forward. And so we're, Salo's all in, and he's going to work with us, and we're going to try to grow on the streaming side of it. We still got all of January. We'll keep reminding the listeners because we don't want people to think, like, what the hell happened? I mean, I know. God willing, we continue to grow in this new year. And so there's all these plans. And so thank you for your support, and continue to follow us and tell people about it, but finding the streaming platform. So we'll wrap up here, guys. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you. Have a happy and blessed new year. Really, truly pray God's blessings over you of prosperity, health, and favor, not only you personally, but over this country. God bless you. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
George, I already forgot. What did you say? You wanted to do your breakdown of something, and I already forgot.
I'd like to propose a thought on the topic of fraud, and let you guys chew on it. There's two issues. It seems to me welfare fraud's been going on for a long time. We touched on it a little bit on Sidebar last week. It's important for people to understand that this is truly a scandal. Outside of the Somali stuff, it is a gross injustice that's been perpetrated on the American public. Remember, I give a little history on the war on poverty. Lyndon B. Johnson comes out swinging in January 1964 and announces this war on poverty. And now you have this huge industrial complex around it that hasn't shrunk at all. 1.4 trillion a year. It's grown in the hundreds of percent, even as the average American GDP has improved. The GDP per capita, the productivity, prosperity per person has increased dramatically in those 60 years, and yet our poverty base continues to grow. I mean, 1.4 trillion a year. Are you kidding me? And the problem is there's Nico, there's very little supervision of it. And so, and I'm just trying to think, the Somalis basically exploited a system that's rife.
Yeah.
It just invites this because we're throwing trillions of dollars. And the only measure is how many people are you signing up? So remember how this works. You open up a daycare, an alleged daycare, to care for alleged children. And you know, if it's a feed your future, they're alleged meals. Okay, this is all fake. But you basically get funding by saying that you've enlisted or you've signed up a bunch of people. And the more people you sign up, the more money you get. So the system throws more money strictly based on the number of people you sign up. It's incomes or incoming rather than outcoming. So you don't get graded on outcomes. So it seems legitimate to come and say, hey, how are you doing with all those people you signed up? How are they doing over time? Are they getting jobs? Are they succeeding? Are they becoming more self-sufficient? So much for self-sufficiency, right? The warmth of collectivism. So the standard of welfare is way off. It's literally inverted. And it just invites additional corruption, additional money, and then there's virtually no oversight. And so it's that environment, it seems to me. And so you throw all this money without addressing the deeper human needs behind poverty, like, a fragmenting of the nuclear family, like lack of work. So rather than addressing those issues, you throw a bunch of money. And then if you actually get married and you become more productive, the money shuts off. So not only does it reward corruption, but then if you start doing the right thing, you get penalized for it. Yeah. So the whole system is a disaster. And so here you come, you get this subculture that's invested in corruption, and it just exploited a really bad thing and made it worse. So we just got to call that out as it is. There's two issues here that we need to address from a matter of policy. The question is, can we come together to do that?
Well, how do you fix Minnesota? I mean, that's a question for me.
Where's the money going?
These are mostly federal dollars that come in.
But who are they sending it to? Like, where are we funding terrorists? Is that? I mean,
that's always a different question. But it's not going where it's supposed to go, and it's going into people's pockets for sure. But my question is kind of a bigger view question: is how do you fix Minnesota? Yeah. Because you have such a strong Somalian presence there. Yeah. That these politicians become prisoners to that. Yeah. They're hostages to the Somalian movement.
Some numbers: 240,000 Somalis in toto in the United States. About 100,000 are in Minnesota.
Man.
Wow. So 100,000. How many people are in Minnesota? How many people in there?
That's a good question.
And why does 100,000 people dictate though? I mean, that's why it takes politicians to put their foot down. I mean, and what's going to happen is you're going to have a Dearborn, Michigan situation where everything's going to take over because then you're going to continue to keep electing these folks.
Demographically, they're sort of hustled or clustered, I should say, in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. So they drive a lot of policy there. So like I said, you want to be a successfusal politician, you got to cut through that. Yeah. And this is why you see the insufferable. It's crazy. You got the lieutenant governor putting on a hijab. She put on a hijab.
Oh God, no! Are you serious?
Check me out on that. Was it a hijab or a burqa? Please check me out on that. But she did one or the other, and trying to identify solidarity. And you got Jacob Fry. He's the mayor. Is it the mayor of somebody check me out on that? Yes. He
is he that cry baby?
Making these sort of insufferable overtures. I mean,
he always cries about everything.
Yeah, check that out on please. I think that's true.
Hijab.
Thank you. Isn't she the lieutenant governor? Yeah. Okay. Was it a hijab? Yeah. Okay, so I wasn't too far off. Okay, this pandering. What are we doing? Selling out the country for what? For power.
And what you're saying, it's not saying that you shouldn't go to these different ethnic culture groups and be involved, go to their celebrations or whatever as a political figure, but don't let their ideas take over and govern this constitutional republic or whatever it is. That's the issue.
But blowing off the illegality.
Well, of course, yes.
Right? That's the sort of the elephant in the middle of the room. I mean, that's the topic here. That's why this is an issue, and just acting like it's never happened, and that the people who actually perpetrated the fraud are the victims. That's what I take issue with. That's a gross injustice where the victim is persecuted, and the people who are truly the perpetrators are heroes. That's what's happening. It's an inversion of reality.
I guess for us, in the Lebanese community, we have you've been with us, right? To Magic is the Night. Have we invited you to go with us? And so it was an event where at the St. George Maronite Church, and it used to be even bigger than it used to be huge. And we would invite, my pop would buy 9 or 10 tables and invite all the elected officials, and they would come and enjoy Lebanese food, traditional Lebanese food, dubki dancing, and fellowship. But everybody there in that whole church in the community is sold on America. I mean, they're all in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Maronite Christian. It's not Islamic. So it's Maronite Christian, Catholic Christian. But still, I mean, it's like, come enjoy our ethnicity and our culture, but underpinning all of it is this American ethos that you talked about. Of course. These Americans.
This is an
different.
important point.
That's
so
different.
It's a festival that isn't inherently American. That's comes from essentially the old country.
Right.
But I love that it reinforces Americanism.
Yes.
Notice how Americanism is the standard. It's the goal. And I see, and what we're seeing now is a total inversion of that. And by the way, it's
Portugal
also
is getting run over too. Your mother country.
Oh my gosh! Please don't get me started. Yeah, brother. Yeah,
your parents still own property over there.
What's going on in Portugal and Spain is absolutely shameful, and with regard to really a third world infiltration.
Have you seen the videos going around about these New Year's celebrations in Germany and Brussels and all over Amsterdam and all over the country? I mean, all over Europe and Spain. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, there's no celebration of New Year. It's domination, and so we have to have a real conversation about who we let into this country. We do.
It's not letting up.
We have to. We have to have a real discussion about what cultures we want to allow in our country. As we've talked about before, Islam is a political movement dressed in a religion. Christianity is a religion ideologically hoping to influence the government. It's different, right? It's a different approach.
Yes.
And we need to talk about birthright citizenship. We need to talk about our asylum system. And someone said this, but it's so true. So I'm going to say it, but it's not my statement. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion.
Yeah.
And that's true. Immigration is beautiful. The melting pot, the American dream. That's my grandfather came over from Lebanon. My mom's family is from Mexico. Absolutely. But if you don't assimilate, if you don't agree with the ethos and the rules of engagement of the country you're coming into, well, then it's ultimately an invasion. And that's not what's happening. No one's assimilating crap. I mean, they're not trying to, at least. And they're telling you.
We're going to have to wrestle with this, man. We're going to have to really wrestle with immigration law, because right now, once you're naturalized, there's virtually nothing in the law that would allow the United States government to deport someone just because they committed crimes. And I don't mean just because, but simply because, or solely because they committed crimes in the aftermath of naturalization. It's challenging unless you can show that there was some sort of mischaracterization, misrepresentation in the application originally, that there was fraud committed. It's a bit of a leap, and so you're going to have to. I mean, I think these are legitimate, but you have truly national security concerns. I realize there's been a lot of injustices that have been done under the moniker of national security, but this truly is a national security concern, that you are bringing in peoples who are forming clans, enclaves that are unassimilable. They are not only materially not assimilating, but they're actually in an organized fashion working against order in the country through illegality. That's been demonstrated. You asked a question, do we know where the dollars are going? The answer is yes, there's been enough investigative work. And what's tragic is that we've known about it. See, what this is disclosing is that politicians in Minnesota have known about it. Oh, we got more important things to worry about than fraud. And I'm sorry, it's not just that, it's overwhelmingly Democrat, but there are Republicans who turn the other way and who look the other way. So this is, I think, the great Republican sin, Nico, from a party perspective, is that we've sat by and we've let it happen because of political correctness, because of political expediency. And this has mushroomed. Where are the dollars going? 3 places. Well, they're obviously going to the individuals who are being enriched through this. The fraudster at the point of the spear. They're also going to politicians. And so they're able to trace that these are
sick.
And you wouldn't believe how they're doing it. They're collecting these dollars. So the way this works is they create a fake nonprofit. They claim to be serving people in need. And then that enables them to receive hundreds of millions, indeed billions of dollars, mostly federal funds, some state monies. They take the monies supposedly for the needy. They pocket it. They get benefited directly from that. The politicians who benefit from that are miraculously, almost overwhelmingly Democrat. And they're actually all Democrat. But I want to leave myself just a little ambiguity there because there may be that one, but they're overwhelmingly Democrat. And here's the Somali flavor of this fraud scheme. They've traced a shit ton of money that's going to terror groups in Somalia. The Somalia has a GDP, Nico, of around $13 billion a year. A significant portion of that is remittances, and they're remittances from the United States. I'm going to say that again. Somalia has a GDP of around $13 billion, and a significant portion of that, to the tune of around 40%, are remittances that come from places like the United States, overwhelmingly from the United States. Monies that come from the United States
For what purpose?
To support, well, what's going on in Somalia right now. Like you said, low trust, corruption, murder.
But what I'm saying is, what is the justification for us giving those remittances then?
Well, it's schemes like this. It's dollars
You're
that
not
are
saying direct money that the government is saying we're giving you this money to help you.
No.
You're just saying
yes.
it's coming
I'm
in
sorry.
through scams.
Yeah,
Okay,
remittances
it came
that are
across
coming,
like you're saying that we're giving them money.
Forgive me. Yeah, thank you. It's an important clarification. Monies that are coming through this money laundering scheme
got it.
and going to Somalia. That's not insignificant, man. Billions of dollars that are going to fund a failed state where terror isn't a bug, it's a feature. This has been going on for years, and Tim Walz and his administration have been sitting idly by, and he sits in front of millions of Americans at the vice presidential debate and acts like it's a nobility of his to have more daycare centers in the model of Minnesota. No shame.
Did he say that? I don't even
Yes,
remember.
that's a fact. Yeah, you can look it up. That is an absolute
painful.
fact. And they're all bragging about it. Let's have more. We want more of this. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say either. That's
When you call sin good and good, right?
Isaiah 5:20.
When you call sin good and good evil,
and bitter sweet and sweet bitter
and you
night for day.
you rejoice, you act like it's a nobility.
Careful. Yeah.
It's not far before you go
What
off
about
that
Georgia
cliff.
vote fraud? You didn't even talk about that in the radio,
I
Karen.
need to know
That's a great
about it
dovetail.
because I've been so checked out and in the fetal position for the last couple of weeks. I haven't followed anything.
Why, you got a stomach bug or what?
No, just
going on?
the life bug.
Oh,
Anyway, let's
Karen.
talk about that.
Karen.
I know, I'm popping out of it. I'm popping out of
Well,
it.
I mean, we were supposed to talk about this on the radio, but then
Yes.
Maduro took over the first half of the first block of the radio show. But I mean, so what's going on with this conspiracy vote fraud thing? I mean, obviously, it's looking like that over 300,000 early votes. This is what I saw. Were digital taped and were not certified. So there's kind of a chain of custody, from my understanding, George, of Georgia voting laws, that there's this kind of certification that these.
What year are you talking about? 2020?
Yeah, 2020.
Oh, okay,
That they're
okay.
blank, and then and then at the end of the day, they're signed off on these digital tapes for these voting machines.
More demons.
It's a chain of custody issue. You know,
Yeah.
okay, well, who had it here? What was the state of this piece of evidence here? What happened here? And then you go and you tally up the votes. And it's supposedly these 300,000 some early votes, George, not absentee votes.
315,000.
Right, they were not certified. These digital tapes were not signed off on.
That's
So
right.
The
and
chain
why
of
is that
custody
number
wasn't justified.
significant?
Well, it's significant because Joe Biden allegedly won Georgia by something like 11,579 votes. And so remember that what was it, Nico? I think it was January 2021, January 2nd, 2021. Trump calls Raffensperger in Georgia. He's Secretary of State of Georgia, and he's saying, and he very imperfectly said that, you know, he needs to find a certain number of votes. But the context, remember, the context of that is left out, which is, look, and here's the number that Trump used. He claimed at the time when he called Secretary of State of Georgia, it said there's 250 to 300,000 votes. It's uncanny how accurate he was. There's some 250,000 that we've been able to track that at least 250 through various sources. Trump was saying that 250 to 300,000 early votes
he was right.
were illegitimate
Yeah.
and should not have been certified. Now, why is that? To your point, Georgia's statute requires these votes. There's a tabulation tape from the ballot machine that's produced, and they have to be certified by poll workers.
Yeah.
They have to be entered in the record. They should. What does that mean to certify? Well, first of all, you check that the starting number of votes is 0. In other words, you don't have leftover votes from a previous election, or you don't have leftover votes from testing runs or anything like that. And that there's actually a finite and final number. It doesn't sort of migrate upward or downward, mysteriously. There's a start and there's a finish, and that needs to be certified, every single one of those tapes. And what we've had in a meeting before the Georgia Election Board, because there was a lawsuit that was brought forward, I think it was David Cross. I know his last name was Cross. I don't remember his first name. I think it's David Cross. He's an election activist. And he's been fighting to bring this forward. Finally, the light of day. Talk about vindication in noonday sun, right? Mm-hmm. Psalm 37, 4 and 5. And so, in fact, you have a leading attorney for the Georgia State Election Board saying, yeah, we can't guarantee that.
Saulo's very happy because he wears his Trump hat. Trump was right about everything. And so this
right.
I got a tattoo. He's got a tattoo on his lower back. And so this is tramp stamp. He's got a Trump stamp.
Instead of a that is
you got a Trump stamp instead of a tramp stamp. You like that one?
I love it.
What an image.
But so it doesn't mean that these votes were fraudulent or false. It just means they weren't complied with. I mean, so like to me, in my world, it's like a motion to suppress. An officer doesn't have reasonable suspicion to pull you over or probable cause to detain you and search you and finds drugs. Well, you had the drugs, but they didn't follow procedure and they didn't, it wasn't verified. And so they didn't get to the drugs the right way. And so then that means the drugs get kicked out on a motion to suppress. Same thing here. I mean, again, I'm not saying some of these aren't fraudulent, by the way. I'm just saying we don't have, at least I have not seen evidence that they're particularly fraudulent. They're just false.
Here's the word. They're illegal votes.
There you go.
This is a violation of Georgia statute. These votes cannot be legally counted. And so now what he's pushing is for them to decertify. No, we can't change the past. Yes, believe it or not, Joe Biden was president of the United States. That isn't going to change. But what he should do, and this is important. Otherwise, because if we don't take this seriously and we just sort of blow it off, it's going to happen again, obviously. This isn't a matter of opinion. This is law. And so this has to achieve some closure. There needs to be an asterisk. There must be. I think there should be an asterisk. This is President asterisk. Now, it is what it is. But the consequences were enormous for this country. This isn't funny.
But think about that. If Trump would have won the second term, then probably we'd have a Democrat president right now. There's a good chance. I don't know. I mean, because Trump wouldn't have been vindicated in so many ways. It would have been this continuing, that break really helped Trump.
Yes,
his brand,
absolutely.
the conservatives, Republicans, it really did. I mean, as much as the Republicans are struggling, without that break and without people to really experience these ideas, because you know how I always say ideas have consequences, those ideas were tested in our society and they sucked. I mean, not all of them, of course. I'm just saying in general.
I know you don't say those things to be irritating to your brother here. No. But I have to ask because let's just, and this is why I think ironically why we should be hopeful about the midterms because I want to go back to what you just said, that we don't know that Trump wouldn't, that we wouldn't have had that he wouldn't have been reelected. We don't know that.
But I said if he was, we'd probably have a Democrat president right now. I mean, there's a chance. I mean, a good chance because the
I'm sorry,
hatred.
I meant a Republican. Sorry, I apologize.
What are you talking
that
about?
a Republican wouldn't have been. We don't know that a Republican wouldn't have been elected. You said probably, and I'm wondering.
Well, then who would have been Pence?
Well, I just
because Pence was his VP, so Pence would have been vice president. That Mama Luke would have been vice president for 4 years. So then you don't get.
It wouldn't have been
Lay it all out. Lay it all out.
No argument there. Far be it from you to defend Pence.
He would have been the heir apparent. The vice president's always the heir apparent. And then you don't think that somebody would have smashed his ass in an election this last time?
Yeah.
I mean, and then that hatred, they wouldn't have had that repeal, that kind of repose, that reprieve, of all this Trump hate. And people Trump wouldn't have been on Joe Rogan. Trump wouldn't have been on all these podcasts. Republicans wouldn't have been looked at as differently. Republican brand the tent wouldn't have expanded. It still would have been embarrassing to be a quote unquote conservative. I mean, all that stuff happened.
Granted that those things those particulars would not have happened. I guess what I'm saying is that it's quite possible that Trump would have been vindicated on a number of fronts because his policies were so significant. A lot of the stuff that he's implementing now, Nico, were in draft stage at the time, like the firing of hundreds of thousands of federal employees. Yeah. That was, what was it? Was that Project F? That never got done, and it was sabotage in the early years of the Biden administration. That would have had a tremendous impact.
I just don't think we'd have a President Pence right now.
Oh, well.
So, and then it would be...
I hear you.
We wouldn't have had the border stuff. So that would have been different. So that you can. I like to play these exercises, these mental
And George
exercises.
doesn't like to lose, so.
No, I'm thinking just about
Well, nobody does.
what we were talking about. What are people going to go to the midterms about? Because we said people are, look, here's the deal. If you're in front of a ballot machine on election day and you're saying, God, this economy sucks. I'm fucking broke. I can't keep the lights on. I can't pay for a grocery bill. Democrats are going to win. If that's the general mood, Democrats are going to win. If the feeling is, I've never made this much money. My wages are going up. I mean, I can afford more. Great argument for inflation going down. GDP's way up. You're feeling it. It's tangible. I mean, yesterday, Steph and I were out driving around, and I literally took pictures.
What?
Gas prices are in the basement, and this is inarguable. It was a while before it's kind of like, it's a dinosaur, United States economy. You give the dinosaur a swift paddle in the ass, and maybe 3 weeks later, the head will say, damn, that hurt. It takes a while, right? So I'm seeing gas prices that are, I went to Walmart up in Spring Branch. It was like $2.64 for 93 octane. Okay, that's an accomplishment.
The counter argument is, well, the president doesn't influence gas prices. You know how that is when it's convenient.
What about when people get their tax refunds and it's a God mark?
Look, this is why I'm saying, look, Trump, I'm just happy that Trump said recently that it's all about the economy again, and that's going to be the midterms. I'm very pleased that he said that, because hopefully that refocuses everybody on the midterms, at least Republican side, because we vote by feelings, not by ideas, unfortunately. And then if people don't feel it when it comes to the midterms, George, we've talked about that's been my fear.
I texted Nico. He's like,
what?
This is maybe Monday or Tuesday. I texted Nico. I'm feeling a vibe shift. There seems to be a change, and that's a good thing, because we've been talking about how the economic fundamentals are solid. Reshoring of the American manufacturing base, reshoring of foreign investment, right? I mean, drilling's not insignificant. This is a big deal. Increase our refining capacity. What's going on in Venezuela is not insignificant. We talked about a little bit on Sidebar, how that has direct effects on our refinery capability. Remember, we built our refineries in the West for Venezuelan oil, for that particular event, which belongs to us. And Trump went and got what belonged to us. That's a big deal. But he's also drilling offshore. We're drilling in Alaska. This matters. If you make energy easier to tap, Nico, obviously more supply, prices are going to go down. And prices are going down. We're feeling it. We are net exporting energy. These things have tangible impacts. GDP numbers mean something. They really do. And so I'm optimistic, because we've been saying, God, it feels like it takes forever. Of course, in an instant gratification culture, everything takes forever.
Right.
But now, I think about that. If the big beautiful bill, all of those deductions that you could take in the year of filing, when do those benefits come in? Well, their benefits come in refunds. Mm-hmm. I think it seems to me what Scott Besson is saying is absolutely spot on. We are going to see a true resurgence, a true economic renaissance. See, not because I love Trump, but because of fundamentals.
Why'd you say it like that?
You reap what you sow. Go ahead.
But if that happens, and people are talking about 2026 being that year, then November is going to be good for Republicans. It just are. It just is. And things can shift quickly. So let's see what by the summer we'll get a good feel. I hear everything you're saying, George, and I'm praying that that's all true. And George texted me. I said, from your text to God's ears, because I really believe that the conservative. I believe that, I don't know, I guess the text wouldn't go to his ears, right? From your text to God's eyes, I guess. There you go. Thanks, Salo. But what I'm saying is I truly believe that conservative ideas in general bless everybody, even the progressive, even the leftist, even the person that disagrees with us. They're still blessed, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, or see it, because they're blinded because of their dislike for whatever conservative ideas or for the person in charge. It's again, I focus on ideas. Label them the way you want to label them, but I think if you look at things, ideas are going to have consequences. So let's hope that's true.
Parallels. Grab your phone and Google Ronald Reagan's first and second term, and I think the parallels are uncanny. I'm telling you, the parallels are uncanny. Reagan comes in 1980. After the 1980 election, he's getting his ass kicked in 1982. He's doing all the right things economically.
Reagan?
Ronald Reagan. He's seeding the soil with all the right things because these things don't happen overnight. But he's putting policies into place that go after the regulatory state, that increase American productivity. Remember, we're coming in the aftermath of Jimmy Carter. If you've got a problem with inflation today, go back and study Carter. But I digress. But you see the parallels where the economy, it takes time. And by 1982 in the midterms, he gets his ass kicked. Does anyone know what happened in the 1984 re-election?
For who? Reagan?
How did Reagan do?
Landslide.
In 49 states. Why? Because one reaps what one sows. The economy matters. We've been learning that
But
lesson.
the problem is he got his ass kicked in the midterms.
He did.
And if Trump gets his ass kicked in this midterms, then his presidency is shot down.
But this is Trump's second term. There's a difference, and he did it differently. Remember, I texted you because you asked the same. You're consistent. You asked the same question. The reality is that we've done something very, very different this time. Okay. Trump did something very, very different that Reagan simply just didn't do. The big, beautiful bill was early. It was passed in July.
Okay.
And we were able to grab those benefits early. We cannot underestimate the power of money in one's pocket come the end of first quarter. We can't underestimate that.
Come on.
That big, beautiful bill basically memorialized. It made it official. The windfall might be coming. No, it will come because it made it effective in the current year. We were like, big, beautiful bill. People were like, whatever. And the media is, they are grabbing Democrat talking points. And I kept saying, Republicans, this is a major win. Why aren't we out there?
Yeah.
We should have made more of it. But the reality is it's not just rhetoric. There are fundamentals at play here. And so I'm very optimistic because we should be. That is a big difference. Thank God for that, because if we hadn't, I think we'd be looking at a very different midterm.
Man, let's see. We'll play it out. This year is going to fly by. You watch. It's definitely going to fly by. We're going to blink our eye. You have some comments or what?
No, but I do want to address something, and I can't go back fast enough. But when we went off the air, the comments that we were no longer going to do the radio show on the radio, it was a little confusing to some people. Some said, "Oh my God, how are we ever going to listen to the show again?" But they were saying it on Facebook.
On Facebook.
And so to explain, we will continue to do this exact show that we do on WOAI, but it will just be on streaming versus on the radio. And
so just for history, so we started the radio show years ago, and it was just radio.
Yes.
And then regardless of when George and we drug him in and all that other stuff, so we started, and then at some point people were saying, hey, we want more. An hour is not long enough, especially with the commercials.
Yes.
So then you got out your damn phone, and we started crunching up in sardine style and started doing Facebook Live with just your phone. Yeah. And then as time went on, we only did the after show on Facebook, and we didn't do it. Then we brought Salo in, and so we I guess social media'd the radio portion of it. And we said, there's people that only listen on social media. There's people that only do radio. Let's kind of combine them, because ultimately we wanted people to be on social media. And so we started covering the radio portion on social media, and then we just continued on the after show. So now what we're talking about is it's only going to be this. We're really going to put all of our efforts into our social media and expanding our platform here in different ways. So that's all it is. This is not going to stay. So if you watch on social media and you never listened on radio, you're not going to skip a beat.
Different.
It's only the people that are just radio, and then maybe switched over to social media. And I don't know if we looked at numbers, if we have a way to track that. But now we're going to need everybody, and they have a month to figure it out. That's it.
And for anybody who's, I hardly know anybody these days except for me that has an actual radio. They actually listen on their phone,
right? And
so it will be exactly the same thing, just not on the radio, but you'll still be able to listen on your, iHeartRadio app, or however you get to Facebook or X, or where else? Facebook, X. Do we have Insta? Okay, YouTube. That's right.
YouTube, Facebook, and X. Those are the three, right? Yep. YouTube, Facebook, and
everything will be the same. And I'm assuming that we'll start at the same time.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
When's Spotify coming?
And with no commercials. Well,
with
no
commercials.
Well, we're gonna hopefully we get some. We're gonna work on sponsorships. So we'll be doing 15 to 30-second commercials.
But I don't consider those commercials. I do the garden show. I truly I hate sales and I hate all of the way that, people feel like they're forced to give money. But if you're listening right now and a company truly aligns with the beliefs of Sidebar, I mean, it shouldn't feel like it's handing over money. It is helping further the education of people and helping.
And the beliefs to be are free speech and critical thinking. That's it. Those are yes, of course, we are conservative. I got it. And people say, you bunch of milk drinkers or whatever the hell, Kool-Aid drinkers. I guess that's fine. I mean, you're part of it. You drink out of a Kool-Aid bowl yourself. But we encourage free speech and critically think. Just think through ideas. Don't just, spout off talking points or sound bites. So those are what, if anybody, even to disagree with us, but believe in critical thinking and free speech, they're welcome to, or anybody can just advertise
free
with
speech,
us.
Equal justice under the law. I don't know. It sounds a lot like the Constitution and avid defenders of the Bill of Rights. I mean, if you care about those things. And notice that's got nothing to do with party.
Right.
And we really invite people, and we've said it, you guys know that, we want people to tune in, to chime in, who have a very different view than we do. And push back.
And this will be
you're
much
going to get it back.
easier.
If you push back, you're going to get pushed back too.
I
Just
think
keep
this
in
will
mind.
be a much easier way to get people to come onto the show and have that other side, because we were so limited with time from 9 to 10. It is just not enough time to have any in-depth conversation.
But then also, I can't tell how many people have said, every time I'm driving on Saturday mornings, I guess they had a Saturday morning routine. I put on the radio, but maybe they don't listen to the whole show.
Right.
Maybe they get only 2 blocks while they're driving of the show. I'm not 2 blocks on the road, 2 blocks, we call the 4 blocks, 2 blocks of the show. And so this way, if they want to watch it later, I'd rather them watch it live so we can interact with people. And then we'll have an opportunity to do, maybe we'll do a section of the show where we're just doing nothing but Q&A and responses, or if somebody's, being a wise ass or whatever they want to do, or they want to disagree or agree or whatever, we can answer questions. So we have a lot of ideas. And we've been talking about this for a while, and I'm honored that Salo's with us still, and because we thought he was going to get deported, but he didn't, and so we're happy he's still with us. we're gonna fight for you, Salo. I think this is going to make you stay because you're going to be part of something.
But you might not like the big beautiful bill. There's more money in there for deportation. So
maybe it could be my turning point. Your turning point.
I looked over at you when I was talking about it, and you were like mourning.
Well, that's good. Any comments before we go? Any rapid fire?
No. Everybody's good. Everybody's.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. Again, have a blessed and happy New Year. We wish well on you, and same with the show. And we enjoy these conversations. Look, this has turned into something different. It was supposed to be for advertisement initially, and we just enjoy these conversations. Maybe it's a ministry. Maybe it's just a platform where people can talk and listen to ideas, share ideas. Of course, I'm always going to advocate, do it respectfully and professionally, but I get there's passions out there. Because in the end, I think the ideas that we talk about on the show, the quote unquote conservative, of course I say Christian ideas, biblical mindset, blesses people even that disagree with me and disagree with us. And so the only way that we can make sure that those ideas win the day is to change hearts and minds with facts and data and conversation. That's it. We got to converse. We got to have conversation. And we should encourage that. And we should, and please try, just maybe this year, maybe there's an idea where you could invite a conversation with someone that you disagree with or someone that you even don't like. You'd be surprised, man. I've had conversations with people that I thought I didn't like, and I didn't like their ideas when I finished some of these conversations, but I kind of like the person. I mean, Bill Maher is one in my mind. I haven't had a conversation with him yet. I would love to. But he's someone that I seem to like when I've seen him, but I don't like his ideas, most of them, except for 2. But this is how you move the needle, ultimately. So that's my deal. God bless you guys. Anything, Karen?
Nothing.
Karen needs to get married this year. So anybody? We're gonna take applications.
I want to be a stay-at-home wife. I cook, clean.
Applications, aprons. What do you want?
Applications.
We'll take applications. What's the age group? Age of what?
No age group.
No
Anything
age?
is fine.
18 to
Anything is fine.
18 to
18 to
dead.
100. 18
Yeah.
to dead.
Yeah.
You'll date a dead dude?
Well,
All right. Well, I guess you have to worry about being stiff.
Stop it.
All right, guys. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.